Well, everyone, I think
Visit.
we'll go ahead and get started. We may have a few people hopping in later, which is the case normally on these early Saturday mornings. So I give a namaskar and welcome to everyone. Really glad that you're here with us today. It's my honor to introduce Professor Dr. Bruce McEwen. Bruce brings together something quite rare, a lifetime of deep personal practice and rigorous scientific training. He began meditation and yoga in the early 1970s and has maintained a daily practice ever since. Alongside that, he earned his PhD in biochemistry at Cornell, conducted postdoctoral research, including work connected with Nobel Prize winning science, and went on to lead his own research lab with the New York State Department of Health while teaching at the University of Albany School of Public Health. Over his career, he's published more than 70 peer-reviewed papers, mentored students, and continues today to teach integral health, also known as lifestyle wellness. What makes Bruce truly special, though, is how he brings all this together. As one student shared, everything about his course is excellent. He explains concepts clearly, engages deeply, and guides exercises that are especially helpful for relaxation. Another student said Professor McEwen brings a powerful balance of science and holistic thinking. Truly a privilege to learn from him. Today's session is a glimpse into his upcoming 6-week course, Lifestyle Wellness, A Journey to Wholeness and Wellbeing. Bruce, we are so grateful to have you with us, and good morning or good evening.
Thank you, Rishi. Thank you very much for that introduction. Um, let's see. Can we stop sharing that? Great. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. Basically, well, a little history about the backup. While I was had a full-time, I've retired since 2011, but when I was full-time working at the state with a research lab, my own research group at the New York State Department of Health, I was on the Council of the School of Public Health, chairing the academic committee, and I figured out how to create a course that I wanted to teach instead of something I was supposed to teach. And that was something to address the fact that undergraduates are under a lot of stress. And not only that, I think it was a public health issue. So let me share the screen. As Rishi pointed out, share, hopefully we're way ahead. I did teach for the School of Public Health, and lifestyle is actually becoming a public health issue. But for me, it started out with something that helps students personally. But then, just even today, and certainly in the course, the public health and even the environmental health, they all are connected. What's good for the person is good for the public health. But I want to start out with a question for you. What are you grateful for? So just list 4 or 5 things. Think about it for a moment, and then maybe we'll split into two breakout rooms to share. But for a moment, and these can be very simple things. They don't have to be something momentum. Just right now, what are you grateful for? Maybe Rishi, if you can go ahead and sit there, people out for the breakout room and just share with each other in your room. And then maybe we'll give you about 3, 4 minutes on this, or maybe 5 minutes, and then come back.
Absolutely. We have a few people that have just joined. So again, welcome. Thank you so much for joining this morning. We're actually starting the day off with just a small discussion about 4 to 5 things that you're grateful for. So we're going to split everyone up into groups. You don't have to bring your camera on, but just be thinking about that. Bruce will jump into each of your breakout rooms and just make sure if you have any questions, he can answer those. But we want you to have a chance to connect with each other, as well as we want you to be able to, share what 4 or 5 things you're grateful for. So be
Yeah,
thinking
maybe.
about that, and we'll go ahead and open those breakout
Yeah.
rooms.
So I can start with 4 or 5 things I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for uh, that I just moved to a new place and it's beautiful. For
Was one of my trainers when I was doing yoga teacher training 20 years ago.
Oh, wow. Great. Good to have you back. Let me share my screen again. Does somebody from each group want to just share a few things that that you came up with?
Namaskar. We're so grateful for our Margi family. A lot of gratitude for our personal, close family, our Margi family, our practices. And um, I guess when you talk to a bunch of tantric people, they go right to the root. So that was the basic theme.
Well, I think that we had some people that were really able to share, even though they couldn't be on video because they're far away with not good internet. But they chimed in, so we're a lot of gratitude for friends. So people were actually two people were really grateful for the college and the courses, and
Nice.
their spiritual practices and their Ananda Marga community and master units and kind of their work, family, and their practices.
Oh, nice, nice. So, this, by the way, isn't something I made up. Um, Here's something from NIH newsletter. That's National Institutes of Health. For those of you who are not United States, are the major funders of grant-funded research. So there's actually research showing this, and it's actually gotten kind of popular now. Uh, Here it is.
Perfect, coming through. Thank you.
Yeah, and these are just some of the things. This is from a NIH newsletter, but there's published research on this. As strange as that may sound, in fact, here's some of her references. But yeah, this is particularly helpful on a difficult day. At the end of the day, what went well? Even on the most difficult days, something goes well. And many of my students find this one of the most helpful practices. Cicero, if some of you remember, a Roman philosopher from about 2,000 years ago, called gratitude is the mother of all virtues. And a Harvard professor, I think he's still at Harvard, Tal Ben-Shahar, going to talk more about his work next. When we appreciate the good in our life, we have more of it. So Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar, he took a concept as actually introduced by Nassim Taleb of what's called anti-fragility. So being resilient means I can recover. Something happens bad, I recover. Anti-fragility means I'm not only fragile, just the opposite. When something difficult happens, when I have a hard time, I actually grow through that. Okay. Oh, I skipped a slide. All right. Are you happy? Uh, Sorry about that. It's not a yes or no question. So I kind of blew that, but it's not a fair question because happiness resides on a continuum. And there's always days when we're not happy. I'm pursuing a happiness through hardship. Okay, I'm just going to play this little clip for you from a few minutes of this Zoom, excuse me, YouTube video, which, by the way, I have the Zoom link for it on this slideshow, which I think we'll share. But just and by the way, Dr. Taubman Shark taught one of the most popular courses in Harvard history. He had about 1,500 students. I have no idea how he did the grading for it. He must have had an army of TAs. But anyway,
there are only two kinds of people who do not experience painful emotions. The first kind are the psychopaths. The second kind are dead. There is a false understanding or expectation that a happy life means being happy all the time. No, learning to accept and even embrace painful emotions is an important part of a happy life, and the study of painful emotions is an important part of the field of happiness studies.
Okay, I think we can stop there. So this, of course, the point here then is we're not happy all the time. And this is the whole concept of this anti-fragility. Stuff's going to happen in life. Life happens. But can we learn to grow from it? So we all want to be happy, I assume. Does anybody want to raise their hand that they like being unhappy? But the problem is, and Dr. Shard in his video explains that if you try to be happy all the time, research shows us people are actually less happy. Instead, he breaks it down into these 6 components. what he calls the SPIRE model, SPIRE. The first one is spirituality, which, and again, for those that have a really broad range of applications, and many of you are in Ananda practices, you have a pretty specific idea what spirituality is, but he defines it as sense of meaning and purpose. And then physical, taking care of our bodies, taking time to exercise. In my course, I teach these three components: aerobic, getting out there and getting the heart moving; strengthening; and then flexibility, which of course, yoga is very good for the flexibility. Those are three components. But in his video, what Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar said, he's talking really about a Western country, and I know not all of you are from the United States, but the United States there's a lot of stress. And the problem is not the stress, the lack of recovery, taking time to recover. The I is for intellectual. People who are curious and ask questions tend to be happier and live longer. Relational. The number one predictor of happiness is the quality time we spend with people we care about and who care about us. What's your network? What's your family network? And the idea of anti-fragility, that is growing through hardship, having strong relations is one of the key from his research. And then finally, the emotional, which is just what we talked about. When something painful happens, actually embracing it rather than trying to run away from it. Embracing painful emotions and then cultivating pleasurable ones, which brings us back to Cicero and gratitude. So again, Cicero was 2,000 years ago, so old ideas reemerging. And this is the web link, which will people get a copy of this PowerPoint, Rishi, afterwards that they can?
Yes, they will.
So they'll have these web links and you can go see for yourself. Let's see. Any thoughts or questions about that? Anybody want to chime in? Do you think you can grow through difficulties, hardships? Okay,
Namaskar. I can share if that's okay.
sure, absolute, please.
I just wanted to say that when you say this anti-fragility, it really resonates with me. Lately in my journey, I've been doing the effort of being with the hard emotions, and I have realized how much I've been putting them aside, and at the same time how difficult it is to be with these difficult emotions. And I've also been exploring that there's a lot of shame around it, right? Like for people to be vulnerable. So just realizing from consciousness, wow, like it's actually very hard for me to be vulnerable. That for me, it's been a big victory. And mentioning this now, it just really makes me feel inspired, and yes, wanted to share that it's not easy. Thanks.
Yeah. So because there's a natural tendency to run away from it or deny it. And that's when we get in trouble. That's when we suppress those negative emotions instead of meeting that. And, Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar is only one person who's investigated this. Can I have a volunteer to read this poem?
I'll read it.
Okay, go ahead. And it's by two columns, by the way.
The Guest House by Rumi. It's a poem I share a lot with people.
Okay, so you know it as well. All right.
This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
Thank you. Thank you. Very excellent. And who was Rumi?
Rumi was a Near Eastern poet,
Yeah, Sufi.
Mid Eastern poet from an ancient culture.
Yeah, lived about 800 years ago. So again, old ideas.
Where Iran is now,
What?
practically where Iran is now.
Yeah, practically. Yes, exactly. Um, well, in Havis is where Iran is actually. I think Rumi is more like Turkey, but whatever. Actually, Rumi's family fled Afghanistan because of war, that being the Mongols. So some things haven't changed in 800 years. But anyway, again, an old idea resurfacing. And somebody mentioned, oh yes, who was it that shared? I didn't see that, but
That was Abigail.
Abigail. Yes, thank you, Abigail. The shame, the malice. I guess the question is, are you perfect? Why not? But really, the question is, okay, so you messed up. How do you treat yourself once you've messed up? So just think about that for a moment before we go on. So the question is, are you a harsh self-critic? Man, I really screwed up. This is so dumb of me. I'm just dumb. These kind of self-talk. And researched by Dr. Kristen Neff, who's at the University of Texas, Austin. Her work is on self-compassion. Most of us, she says, say things to ourselves that we wouldn't even say to someone we don't like very well. Really hard on ourselves. This is the thing. Let's see. Self-compassion. I think I'm going to just actually share her website with you. Self-compassion. Okay, so we see this website with three different pictures of Dr. Neff. So if
Yes.
you go on the website, you can actually listen to her. But she defines self-kindness or self-compassion, excuse me. First of all, self-kindness, being kind, understanding when we suffer or feel inadequate, ignoring our pain. So again, the whole crux of this is being able to, there difficult things happen, stuff happens in the world life. How do we handle it? That's the key. Common humanity, this is an important part. All humans suffer. Definition of human is to be vulnerable, flawed, and imperfect. So I had a question on there. What are all? But since we're in a larger group, I didn't put it to you. But what's one thing that all human beings share, no matter where they are, what culture? We all mess up. We're all imperfect. Okay. So instead of being making me better than you, it means I have something in common with you, or less than you because I screwed up. It means that this is what I share, that we all make mistakes. And that's part of being human. So we don't have to beat ourselves up. And then mindfulness over versus over identification. And so don't want to stop there. I'll come back to that in a moment. There's a couple other parts to this. She has what's called fierce self-compassion, which in a word is, it's not only just being gentle with myself, it's also standing up for yourself and saying no when you have to, drawing boundaries to protect yourself. So self-compassion has this side of it as well. And then there's myths about self-compassion. We can come back to that. But first, I think I want to no, I think I can do it from here. So she says mindfulness versus over identification. In other words, being mindful rather than, well, here she's treating ourselves like we treat a good friend. Over identifying with difficult thoughts, feelings, so we aren't swept away by that negative reactivity. That's what she's defining in mindfulness. So I just want to take a moment and each of you think, what do you do what in your personal contemplative practice do you do that would resonate with this idea of not being over-identifying with your pain? How do you do that? Think about that for a moment. And does anybody want to share what you thought about it? What do you do when life's hard and instead of over-identifying and getting swept up with it, what's your way out? Put things in there or just speak up, either one.
I think I'll just think that there will come a next day, a next moment. It's not the end of life.
And thank you, Didi. Okay.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
I'll say something. I think, oh, this is such a personal topic for me, but one thing I do is remind myself the emotion is moving through me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's similar and sort of helpful in the same sense of like when something positive is happening in my life as well, or when Baba's just really giving me some grace and sadhana or anything like that. I try to reflect and be really honest with myself. Like, is this something like I need to be honest? Can I improve this about myself? Is this something that I'm being given an opportunity to shift and grow? And I've had a lot of growth by examining those painful emotions and being really honest with myself and letting them process them. But I'll also do like movement and vocalizing. And I strongly recommend this if you my emotions. I am a human being, and maybe my strong and intense emotions are a strength. So
Okay, thank you, Alexis. That's very. I'm just going to read a few things from the chat. Guru Puja, that's the offering that we are part of everything. That's the one I thought of. Positive self-talk, that's nice. Mantra, I guess that would be like that. Kirtan, 60 years young, nice. I guess that's the Alexis. So I'm going to come back to my presentation. Okay, this is just is these slides are just the what we just went over, the 3 points of self-compassion. There again is Dr. Neff's website, and the fact that fierce component, and then there's also a tab for myths about self-compassion. Okay, so going to the myths, here's a question for you. If we can do breakout rooms, but first of all, maybe note this down, or Rishi, you actually have this noted down. You can share that with people in the breakout room.
Yeah, and if folks want to just take out their phones if you have one, or take a screenshot of that, but he'll read it, and I'll also put that in the chat once you arrive if you don't have access to do both.
Okay, so the statement is self-compassion is great for self-care. That's great. But objective criticism is more effective motivator for change. That's a statement. And here's choose between one of these 4 alternatives. Yes, I agree with that statement. True being, I agree with it because self-criticism activates us to move. False, because we learn to tune out self-criticism. True, because self-compassion placates us, makes us unactive. False, because self-criticism activates self-defense. So go ahead and put people in the breakout rooms, and that's, yeah. And we'll give maybe about 5 minutes on that, Rishi. I think so. We're a little tight on time, but we'll say 5 minutes.
Okay, great. So we've got those breakout rooms ready to go. I'll be opening them now, and I'll pop in real quick and just post that question with the different options to help facilitate discussion. See you all in the breakout rooms.
I don't know if I agree with any of those statements.
Why?
I don't see it being a motivation for change to criticize oneself.
The self-compassion and then objective, I guess that is objective self-criticism. They can be part of the like interplay, like you try to see really yourself truly, clearly, and at the same time you acknowledge that you love yourself. This is the only thing that I have in this life. My soul is expressed itself in this body, in this mind. And
Let's see, from breakout room 2, Sharon, Linda, Sid, Suman, what'd you come up with? Or what was the,
I discussed. We discussed it's about the self compassion. I think our discussion mostly focused on self criticism, self defense. So there are like when two of us we agreed that yes, self criticism always build the self defense, but our other participant brought other aspects like they said that the I mean, she wants to put the idea of self-reflection instead of self-criticism. So my
Mm,
understanding, English is English is my not a native language. It's a second language. In Bangladesh, we use self-criticism and self-reflection interchangeably.
ah,
So
okay.
I mean, maybe this is how we have been taught. So this is how when you and and she also mentioned that once you do the self reflection, it helps you to bring the change. And I agree, but also if you also do the self criticism, this will also to give you opportunity to to improve to
Okay.
improve.
Okay. Look
So
through.
these are the discussion we had.
Thank you, Suman. Thank you. Thank you. And you do very well with English, by the way. And the other breakout room, was that breakout room 2?
I,
Any?
I don't I don't remember actually what we talked everything, but I remember myself. I think that self-criticism is never good for me.
Okay.
And personally, to criticize myself, it creates self-defense. Like I will also feel other people criticize me in the same way. So I never like to criticize myself. And then please, others in the group, please share because I don't remember. There were so many bits and pieces.
what for me, this was like I was reflecting that the same idea that the other brother was saying, that the self-criticism is kind of, in my mind, is kind of like your honest search. What's the other English word? Your self-reflection. Where are you at? What went wrong, or what didn't work out? Like honestly, but with compassion. So it's I
Uh-huh.
feel like self-criticism is that self-reflection more than being like beating yourself down.
Okay. So if we getting back to the slideshow, so if we talked about it as more self-reflection rather than self-criticism, you'd be more comfortable with it. And basically, you're gravitating around D, and that's what research shows. That's what Dr. Ness' research showed. And again, the reason being, when you criticize yourself, we have self-defense mechanisms. They come up whether you want them to or not. And then you get into this strange loop where instead of defending yourself against something external, you're defending yourself against yourself. And it's not a poor, and it's different from tuning it out. Okay. And then what happens when you take self-compassion is it taps into the mammalian caregiving. As mammals, we're born immature and we need to stay next to our parents, particularly our mother when we're very young. And that nurturing is part of us. That feeling of nurture and being able to nurture oneself is important. And again, this Dr. Knapp actually has some interesting stories in some of her websites about how she had to deal with um, her son is autistic and how he had a big blow up on an airplane screaming, and how she had to deal with that. The only way was with self-compassion. So I hope you all are more kind to yourself. That's the message I hope you get out of that.
Mhm.
Uh, okay, let's see. In time I have left, I wanted to just go back and share. The nature of illnesses has changed 100 years ago, and in some countries still, it used to be infectious diseases, tuberculosis, smallpox, which no longer exists, Suman, the last case known as smallpox was in Bangladesh in a village, and the World Health Organization was very militant about isolating it. When I was a kid, we used to get smallpox vaccinations. Through history, it was a disease that was devastating. So we made tremendous progress. But what happened is the disease profile has changed. Let's see now, share, see if I can find myself back to my other page. Yeah. Okay. Back to Dr. Neff and going, this is from the United States. CDC is the Center for Disease Control, statistics, heart disease, cancer, accidents, stroke, chronic lower respiratory diseases, Alzheimer's, diabetes. These all, and this is another page that I think summarizes it nicely. I like the fact that it puts heart disease and stroke together because they're really the same disease. What happens is mostly through bad diet, but also stress and lifestyle, we build up what's called a plaque in our arteries. And when that breaks, it breaks away and puts a blockage of blood flow. And if that blockage flow is to an important part of the heart, that's your heart disease. That's the heart attack. If the blockage is to the brain, then it's a stroke. But it's the same basic disease. That's going over, and this, for the United States, but I think many countries of the world now, particularly economically developed countries, this is the biggest one. Cancer is the next biggest one. Diabetes, obesity. These are the things that are our modern illnesses that we have to deal with. So getting a little bit more like public health, but I think this also affects all of us personally. The thing of it is, all of these diseases can be addressed with lifestyle. We have the best data with heart disease. And this is from a YouTube video by Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. He retired. He was at the Cleveland Clinic, but there's similar things from Dr. Dean Ornish, who was out at medical school at University of California, San Francisco. This is an artery, important artery to the heart. One of his colleagues, one of the other physicians, had a pretty severe heart attack, was just desperate, and went on to Esselstyn's program. And this is where his heart was at the beginning of the study in 1996. 30 months later, the blood flow is recovered. See all this? And blood flow is by the fourth power of the circumference. So when you really put this down, you're really cramping down the blood flow. And here it completely recovered. So this was a sign that we can not only prevent these modern chronic diseases, we can actually reverse them. And that was really mind-boggling and opening at the time. And let's see, I think this is all I want. Yes, okay. So what are these lifestyle? And from here, I think I'm just going to go through the presentation so we finish somewhat on time. So now we know what we're suffering in. And I teach in a U.S. University, so I focus on that and how. But this comes from, I don't know if some of you have seen My Plate, but this is Harvard's addition to it. Basically, I don't know if that's big enough for you to see, but whole grains, vegetables, fruits, and healthy proteins. I don't think it's probably not big enough for you to see. What he calls healthy proteins are fish, poultry, beans, nuts, limit red meat and cheese, totally avoid bacon, cold cuts, and other processed items like that. Going on to the next slide. So there's very opinions in the nutritional community. They aren't totally on Harvard's plate, but here's where they agree. Limit the ultra refined foods. That's the stuff that's really, really, well, you'll see in the next slide. But I think you know what I mean by that. It's also goes by the name junk food. Eat more vegetables and fruit. Stay hydrated. Limit salt. saturated fat and sugar, limit red meat. Those are pretty much the agreements that's come down. So you hear the word plant-based these days, not vegan, plant-based, because vegan has a lot of ultra-refined foods. Whether or not the inclusion of seafood and poultry, not everybody agrees with that. Dr. Esselstyn, who I showed, is very much, he's very strict. Of course, he gets good results in reversing heart disease, but no oil even. And, so in Harvard, they talked about healthy oils. You hear about these unsaturated oils as being good. Some people say yes, some people say no. Dairy is the same way. And even nuts, that's particularly Esselstyn, because he's really big on that. But so if we ignore the disagreements, eating more fruits and vegetables, staying hydrated, limiting the junk food. So we know what's healthy. What is it? But what do we really eat? Okay, this comes from a convenience store, but this could be in a grocery store. Here's the Pepsi Cola, here's the Doritos, and then of course the candy bars and all this. And even things like the ketchup. I took this at a restaurant. I didn't eat it, but I actually looked at the label and took a picture of it. I don't know if you can see that, tomato concentrate, vinegar, and high fructose corn syrup, more fattening than sucrose or fats. And of course, for those of you who practice Nanda Marga, it also has onion and stuff like that. So we don't eat what's helpful for. Why? We know what's good for us. Why do we eat this stuff? Well, I can come up with two reasons. First of all, there's the economics of it. This is from 2011. I got this from some of you know. Whoops, where am I? What are you seeing? Are you seeing the PowerPoint?
We see the graph of the industry annual revenue.
Yeah, somehow my screen shifted back. Let's see if I can get myself back to the PowerPoint. Yeah, here we are. Yeah, the red, Cargill. The yellow is dairy, processed. The black is tobacco companies. The point is, not one of these companies deals with fruits and vegetables and whole grains, okay? Dole pineapple is just off the list, and I'm not sure the canned fruit really counts. But tobacco companies, people still make money off of tobacco companies. But the second reason is this, something from Dr. Ornish's book of The Spectrum. He says, I ask my patients, teach me something. Why do you smoke, overeat, drink so much, abuse substances, watch too much television, spend too much time on the internet? These behaviors seem so maladaptive to me. And their reply, Dean, you just don't get it. These behaviors aren't maladaptive. They're very adaptive because they get us through the day. They say things to him like, I got 20 friends in this pack of cigarettes. You're going to take them away from me? What are you going to give me? So this cycles all the way back to the beginning of the talk, taking care of ourselves. So at least in the United States and other Western countries, the real problem is the stress and how we deal with it. And then the junk food is just placating us. Okay, so we're at 9:58. I don't know if there's any time for any comments or questions. Rishi, I give it back to you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, everyone. If you do have a question, certainly put that in the chat. And thank you, Bruce, everyone, for being with us and so engaging fully. What you experienced today is really just a small window into what becomes possible over 6 weeks of consistent practice and guided learning. Talking about the courses coming up, one student reflected that the class truly promotes holistic living, encouraging students to prioritize their health and well-being. This is exactly the intention of this course, not just to learn about wellness, but actually live it, integrate it, and basically experience it for the real transformation in your daily life. If what you felt today resonated with you, I strongly encourage you to take the next step and join the full program, lifestyle, Wellness, A Journey to Wholeness and Wellbeing. It's a rare opportunity to learn directly from someone who embodies both scientific depth and decades of lived practice. I'll be sharing the registration link of that in the chat. And if you have any questions, we'll be staying on a few minutes afterwards. And of course, you can always reach out to Dr. McEwen through his college email.